He looks cool. I'm very excited for his gameplay. He'll probably be really strong because Akuma's usually really good in like all of these games. He's designed to be fucked up. So that's cool. But it did get me thinking about something, which is everyone's been really excited about Akuma in spite of, or perhaps because of, the leak. Now, this is ancient history at this point, but back when 6 got its first official trailer, they revealed 4 characters. It was Ryu, Chun-Li, Luke, and Jamie. And everyone's like, wow. And those were the first characters who were going to be, that we were going to get a taste of in this game. And wow, what are the new designs going to be? Who's in the game, you know? Is this person in the game? Is that person in the game? And then it turns out that like 12 hours later, the entire base roster plus the first season of DLC got leaked, which led to Capcom dramatically changing up their marketing scheme and focusing less on, I guess, the build up to the characters, because we already knew who was gonna be in it. So like, what's the point in spacey like, oh, who's the next character gonna be? Although people were interested in seeing what they actually played like and stuff like that. But I find this really interesting because, okay, for the base roster, maybe that wasn't... How important was that necessarily? But for the DLC roster, that had I think that had a significant... It forced them to do things differently. So typically, with a fighting game DLC season, the characters are all mysteries until they get revealed one by one as they come out, right? We're going to have a Guilty Gear reveal in like a few days probably. And my guess is that it's Venom. I'm going to call it here. We got one more character left in the season, Slayer Bros. But they're always left to be a mystery beforehand, right? But there's this interesting strategy. Actually, Capcom did it in Season 5 of Street Fighter V as well, the last kind of emergency season, which I thought was interesting. So they previously, it was always, you know, it's a mystery who it's going to be. And then when Season 5 rolled around, they were like, here's the first 4 characters. The 5th one's a mystery, but the 4th one's, the first 4, we're going to tell you exactly who it is, and we're going to show you the concept art and all that. And honestly, I didn't really feel like there was anything less in terms of excitement. I feel like the level of interest for those characters was about the same as it would have been if they had been revealed, you know, a few days or a week before their release, kind of thing. Which kind of makes me wonder, especially now with the with the Street Fighter 6 DLC all being revealed, because they just came out front because of the leak, and they just told you who it was going to be. And they showed the concept art and all that. And it makes me wonder, like, is it really necessary to obscure who the characters are? And I was thinking about this because also this was, you know, recently there was that reveal of the silhouette for the new Guilty Gear Strive character, like I mentioned a second ago. And I saw a comment, and comment sections are always salty and you never listen to them. But there was like this sentiment from one person in particular that was like, you guys better add in this character. I've bought 3 seasons of DLC for this. And my immediate reaction was like, dude, you didn't even know what was in the season pass before you bought it. Like, I don't, like, they didn't promise you anything. You're just gambling at that point. And then there's another part of me that's wondering, is that, like, ethical? Is it ethical to sell somebody on a season pass for content that you haven't revealed yet? Like, is it ethical? How different, at that point, how different is a season pass from a loot box, right? Where you're selling somebody something on the hopes that it could be something cool. Except, at least in the case of a loot box, it's something that you know is in the game. Whereas, you know, there's people who I don't know, they bought every season of Street Fighter V DLC hoping that Elena would get in, and she never did, or something like that. Or Yun would get in, you know? and they never did. And on a certain level, it's like, well, how fair? Like, you could obviously, like, if you think about it, it is fair in a sense, because they're just selling you essentially the promise of 4 or 5 characters. There are people who buy the season passes, and they buy them specifically just because they want more content, even if maybe they won't necessarily play all of those characters, right? And for those people, that's like they don't really, might not even care that much who's in the game. They just want the characters. They just want the more content, right? They want the bigger number they want the bigger roster select screen. But then there's people who really want specific characters. And on one hand, it's like, yeah, I mean, you're buying it before it's even revealed, which is a little silly. Like, personally, I don't really buy season passes until there's a character that I really want who has been revealed or has been added in the game. Like, I didn't buy the Season 3 pass for Strive until Elfelt was in because I wanted to play Elfelt. And it turns out I really liked her. I bought the Season 2 pass so that when Kat plays the game with me, she can play Bridget. Yeah, and there's like, I don't know, because we're really used to it at this point, but part of me does wonder, how different is it actually from a loot box, which a lot of people, I think, nowadays would call unethical. A lot of people call loot boxes unethical, depending on, how much. There's probably like better and worse examples of them. But I mean, you're paying for something that is a mystery that you're hoping will be good. Now, I guess the upside is that unlike a loot boxes are kind of designed to be like very much a slot machine thing, where you're repeatedly spending money on something over and over again, like smaller sums that add up. Whereas a season pass is like one purchase and then it's over. And you know that, and they'll come out with the next one the next year or something like that. So in terms of, no one's life is getting destroyed because they keep spending money on season passes, unless they just play that many games. But I don't know, it's a question I was wondering. And it made me think, would I prefer it if games, for instance, and this is like a very fighting game thing, right? I'm sure there's other games that have season passes and stuff like that, and they all handle it differently. But for fighting games, the MO has typically been that they're all mysteries. But would I prefer it? How different would it even be if they just revealed who all the characters were? Or if you really wanted to have a build-up to the final character of the season, leave them a mystery like they did with Season 5 of SF5. Where Luke was the big mystery character, who was also the only new character. All the others were returning ones, like returning fan favorites and characters like Oro, who haven't been in the game for a while, haven't been in the series for a while. They had a Dan, Akira, like one that a lot of people were hyped about because she, acknowledging that rival schools exist, like that kind of thing. And I wonder, like, okay, if you took how much more, how would the excitement level be different if you just showed a piece of concept art, like an in-game, not an in-game render, but like some official art, right? Maybe not concept art. Maybe that's not the best name for it, because when they did the 6 reveal and they just showed you all the characters, it was like nice looking artwork of the characters. It wasn't just like, here's the model sheet kind of thing. And honestly, I don't really think it would be that different. I think that people would be interested. I feel like the level of interest would be the same whether or not you knew the name and the look beforehand. Because, I mean, I remember, when people were... The only difference I've found is just that there's more speculation leading up to the actual gameplay reveal. Like when the leak happened for 6, people were speculating like, oh, is Manon gonna be like, is she gonna be like a new like Abel? Because people were saying that, oh, she looks like Abel. Well, I already was like, Marisa looks interesting because she looked like a big brawler character, and then she was exactly that. And then I like playing Marisa, oh, DJ's got a great design in this game. Wow, that's so cool. And it kind of, ooh, that's a spoiler. That's a spoiler, actually. That video's not out yet. Hang on. I haven't put that out yet. I wish I could talk about that, but I don't want to. It kind of, let's see, what does it remind me of? I guess the way that, I guess the way that that PR campaigns used to be done. Like, say a game gets revealed in a magazine or something like that. And, if it's, let's just keep with the fighting game example. They're like, here's the 4 new characters, and here's their moves, and here's what they're like. And you'd read that, and you'd go like, holy shit, that's so cool looking. This character looks cool, or this one doesn't look that cool, but this one looks cool to me. And now the PR thing, like it was this big blast of information all at once. Or there would be like a couple big drops of info, right? And nowadays it's been super, it's almost like a product of the way that information channels have changed over time, because now you can put stuff out, you can put releases out so fast. Like, the statements, reveals, press releases, stuff like that. Teasers. It's so easy now to just drip feed information to people, as opposed to before, where it's like, you kind of have to make, especially if you're not a huge name, you kind of have to make the big reveal count to get people excited. You got to show a lot of it off. And nowadays it's like, here's a teaser, and here's another teaser, and here's some concept art, and here's a little thing. And it's like this like little nickel and dime of your interest. And this whole situation with the leak has kind of made me realize that I don't think it's necessary. And in fact, I might actually prefer knowing what I'm going to get. I'll always prefer knowing what I'm going to get in the product before I get the product, right? Unless it's like, there is like an element to a surprise thing, which is why I still say like, oh yeah, if you want to leave the last character a mystery, or you want to leave something to be a mystery, I don't mind. I don't necessarily mind that, because I at least know most of what I'm getting, right? I know like 3 of the 4 characters, and that's fine with me. I kind of wish games from now on would just reveal what the season is going to be beforehand. Just put together like a cool trailer or a cool reveal or something, and just build up to it, maybe with like a little teaser at the end. And now I'm going to get hyped for what this next season is going to entail, rather than like sporadically injecting me with hype is what it feels like. With like, oh, a trailer, oh, we gotta get people interested in our game again. I don't know. It's. I think I would just prefer it. I would just prefer it if you told me up front what the majority of the content in the past was going to be. But yeah, I was thinking about that, and I wonder how they'll do it in future seasons. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to the usual, everything's a mystery and all that. But I think it would be cool to see them continue the sort of trend of letting you in on what the characters are going to be. Because really, it creates like a consistent conversation. Like, everyone's been waiting. Every time a DLC gets revealed for 6, people are just talking about like, oh, but like, what's Akuma gonna play like? And like, the conversation never really stops, right? I don't know. I think that's. Let me know what you guys think. I think it's. I don't know. It just kind of randomly occurred to me.